All right, we're live, y'all. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Globe here. I got another stream. Very, 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 very interesting collab today with my man Celesto. Thank you for reaching out, and you know, happy to make this happen. Go
Okay,
ahead,
so yeah,
introduce
thank you
yourself
for
for
having me on.
the fans, the people. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bro, I actually
So,
I found your channel through Girlfriend for Guys. She's been on your stream a
hmm
few times, right? So then I
yeah,
figured
yeah,
if,
that's
if I would
fine.
let
Yeah.
her know that I wanted to connect with you, that's how I kind of got at your channel, and now we're here. So that's great.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out Amanda for real. But man, so you could go ahead and introduce yourself for the
Okay.
people that don't know you. I got a lot of my supporters familiar with me, my face, of course, but I don't know who you are. So go ahead, introduce yourself, let them know what you're about, and
Okay,
yeah.
that's cool. Let me just close my window real quick. Um,
Brother.
Well, this is of course the first time that we are speaking as well because we didn't even call before we arranged this stuff. So
hmm
it's gonna be my introduction to you as well, of course. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, my name is Celesto and I live in the Netherlands. I'm 17 years old right now, and when it's March, I'll be turning 18, and then I'm gonna quit college because I want to explore the world, and
hmm
I have a lot of dreams that I want to follow. And usually, when I introduce myself, it's going to be a long story,
Yeah.
because
Go ahead.
I'll of course say, like, this is the guy I am today. But as you know, which might be the same for you, it's like a lot comes before you actually turn spiritual, let's say, or start improving yourself. So
Yeah.
um, I would say that, I'm very interested in holistic healing, and I do a lot of self improvement stuff like kickboxing, fitness, meditation, yoga, and recently I've been into Reiki a lot. Um,
hmm
but I've not always been that way, of course.
Yeah.
So for me, let's say my spiritual awakening sort of happened 2 years back when I was 15 years old. And that was because at some point, suffering kind of reaches its limit, right? And
Yeah.
then you have to do something because otherwise it just goes wrong. And maybe that
hmm
was the same for you. It's like you awaken at that point where you're like the deepest in your life that you've ever been, and that was the same for me. I was fucked up. Like, I had my parents fighting, I was bullied at school, I was physically
hmm
ill, I had autoimmune disorder, which means that your body is attacking itself, and in my case that was my eyes. So I had to take like these disgusting pills that would suppress my immune system, because otherwise my eyes would be attacked and I would get blind. Um,
mm
so, with all those things together, I also developed addictions to pornography and gaming, because my life was just fucked. I had no friends at all, and at home, I couldn't be at peace because the relationship between my parents was always tense.
Yeah.
Uh, so, for 6 years, I've used addictions to escape from that pain. And at some point, it just became too much for me. And then I really had to choose between, am I going to kill myself or am I going to find the real way to live?
mm
Um, and that's what I feel like I found now. And that's when I got into spirituality. And that's why I feel like I connected with you, because I saw kind of let's say, sort of the style of the spiritual community of like Van Cut and
Yeah.
those people, right? When I
hmm
started with this stuff, I was very much into their content and just that community,
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny, because it seems like you're into that sort of style as well, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get
Yeah,
into
for
that?
sure.
Because the audience probably knows this
So
already. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's funny story. Um, a while back, I wouldn't even say I had really maybe not like an epiphany, like a moment where it was like, man, let me tap into the spiritual side or whatever. What happened was, do you know the YouTuber Spiritual Soul, so Illuminati, Spiritual Soul,
Definitely,
him.
I know him as well.
Yeah,
He woke me up in the first place. Yeah.
yeah. So I was watching him before he had made his spiritual journey. You know, he used to make 2K content, basketball, video game
Oh
content.
yeah.
So I was watching him before that, and then whenever he had his turn, his shift, and he was talking about these things, I listened and I tuned in. I was like, you know, this makes sense. A lot of this stuff makes sense. So I subscribed to his spiritual channel, and I was listening to what he was saying, and I was doing especially whenever he talked about nofap. That was kind of the first thing that like that really stuck with me whenever he's talking about nofap, because I know a bunch of guys, a bunch of young teenagers, they struggle with pornography and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So whenever he talked about that, that's what really stuck with me. So I was like, hold on, let me listen to what he's saying for real. So I kept following him. I kept doing these things he was talking about, and it had got to a point to where everything that he was talking about, I found myself doing with meditation, all of that. And then after a little while, I had grown up in a Christian household, a Catholic household, and I kind of found like there was like a conflict with what I was hearing from and what my family was preaching in the church and everything.
Hmm.
And the conflict, it created a whole lot of stress for me. Like, I didn't know whether I should listen to because what I found that what he was saying, a lot of it was true. And I also found a lot of the stuff that like Catholicism and the church was saying, also it resonated with me as well. So for the longest time, I had this conflict, this struggle inside of me. So for a while after that, it had got to a point where I just had stopped following both, because I knew that if I had kept listening to both sides, I was just going to shut down completely, and I was probably going to go back to doing the bad habits I was before. So there was a point where I stopped watching the spiritual videos, and I stopped, listening. I stopped reading the Bible, all of that, and I was just kind of doing my own thing for a while. So, and that was during quarantine, whenever the world was shut off.
Hmm.
So during quarantine, I had gotten to a relationship with a girl, and it was going well, whatever. And in March 2021, she had broke up with me, and basically I had hit rock bottom. Like I was
Because of the breakup.
depressed. Yeah, because I wasn't eating, I wasn't doing any of that, right? So me being at that point, that low point again, it inspired me, and it like I felt like I can't let anybody feel like how I felt. Like rock bottom, you're not taking care of yourself. Um any of that, right? So I was like, you know what? Let me get back on self improvement. Let me fix myself again instead of just doing whatever. Let me actually make myself better this time, and actually, put all the effort into it. So I started, working out again. I started taking care of myself, getting back on no fap, semen retention, and really focusing on picking my life up, getting myself back together. And then that's when I started, making videos and trying to help people, documenting my own self improvement journey. And through that, like you said, I was watching Vontu Cut, I was watching Jordan Green, I was watching just a whole bunch of,
Yeah, I
the whole
know all
self
of them.
improvement community. I was just getting
Yeah.
inspiration. Yeah, exactly. So I was just getting inspiration from each of those guys, but I was, doing it through my own voice, my own message. So a lot of people, they actually, it's funny how you say that thing about Vontu Cut. A lot of people found my channel through Vontu Cut. Like, my most popular video is me doing his workout challenge, and they always
Oh, really?
compare us to like our delivery. Yeah, yeah, that's my
Okay.
most popular video. And yeah, I always get a lot of comparisons to Vaughn to cut, with the delivery and everything. But yeah, definitely shout out to him. If it wasn't for Vaughn, I probably wouldn't even be on YouTube doing what I'm doing. So that's kind of my whole little journey. I know a bunch of my subscribers have already heard that, but I just think it's beautiful how everybody in this space, um, you have to go through pain to grow. You have to suffer to really know, you know, um, how messed up, how fucked up, life can be. I always tell people this, especially for the younger guys that are on self-improvement, the guys that are like 12, 13, 14. Like, even though you're young and you hear these guys telling you to get on self-improvement and whatever, I feel like you really have to allow yourself to get to rock bottom. You really have to allow yourself to hurt, because you can't build from you can only build yourself back up when your foundation is, broken. When you're at the root, when you're at the base. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's my
definitely
whole story.
important. Yeah, and
Bro.
then it of course it really
Hmm.
asks for the proper integration, because what I often see is it's either people
Hmm.
have been through a lot but they haven't integrated it, or they haven't been through shit, so they
Hmm.
are, they haven't grown up yet. They are still little children inside of their head.
Exactly.
So that's really fucked up to see, and it's funny.
Hmm.
It seems like that all the people that you watched are the people that I watched as well. And that was for me. That was two
Yeah.
years back. And how many years was that for
Mhm.
you, or how long ago?
So when I first started making videos, it was a year ago. It was a year back. It was
Okay.
20. It's almost 2 years ago. It was March, beginning of 2021. And yeah, that's when I really started making videos. But those guys that I mentioned, I was watching them maybe since the middle of 2020, middle 2020. So yeah, almost, so 2 years now, basically 2 years, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was very involved in that community as well. And then
Hmm.
at some point I joined the Discord server of another YouTuber called Gabe Got That Glow.
Oh
Do you know
yeah,
him?
yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard
I
of him.
joined
Yeah,
his server,
yeah.
and that community was just wonderful. And then for like the coming few months, I had like days where I would like call for like 3 hours with people on Discord. I would just be in nature talking
Hmm.
to other people. Uh, Life back then was just very simple. It was all about no fat
Yeah,
and then working out, and like the sea moss type of shit that you eat sea moss
yeah,
and cooking for yourself, and it was so simple
yeah,
and it was so funny. And but at
yeah.
some point I also felt like there was a lot of toxic stuff going on in that spiritual community, so I
Hmm.
did kind of take my own route eventually, which is of course important for everybody to do.
Yeah.
And like I had a time where I was watching a lot of young Pharaoh. I was watching his PowerPoint presentations. Do you know him?
I think I've heard of him, but I never watched him.
Yeah, I watched him a lot, and he made those like 2 hour PowerPoints of exposing the Bible, or
Hmm.
exposing Joe Biden that he's a pedophile. And that was when I was like very much into the conspiracy type of shit. And
Yeah.
that's when I felt like I became a very toxic person. Like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was I was sort of on this toxic positivity type of vibe where I would call certain people a low vibration, and then I would
Mhm.
judge them based on that. That was very toxic. And yeah, eventually I started realizing that. And it's kind of what I observe right now is like every time I fall into these sort of cycles that I repeat certain mistakes, and then after a certain period of time, if I've made that mistake for too long, then I'll eventually realize, oh shit, like this is not the right thing to do. And that was the same for that. By the way,
Yeah.
you hear the fireworks already for the New Year's. Um, but yeah,
Oh
so
yeah. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's. Yeah, it's gonna be tomorrow, huh? It's gonna be
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. I think it's, let me see. Yeah, it is tomorrow. So
What
yeah.
what are you gonna
Happy
do
New Year's to
tomorrow?
everybody in the chat. Oh, what am I gonna do tomorrow?
Yeah.
I actually have work. I have to work on New
Oh,
Year's.
same,
So
bro.
that's what
But
I'm,
not in the
yeah.
night. Not in the night.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I get back, we're gonna celebrate with the fam. So yeah. But real quick, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Do you know Gold Member?
No, I don't know Gold Member. I'm just gonna pull up the chat as well real quick on
Oh,
my phone. Then I can see.
I said, Pierre, were you an altar boy? I wasn't. I was never an altar boy. My mom did want me to be one, but for some reason, I don't know why. I did go to religious education though, but I wasn't. I was never an altar boy. Said, I remember when Vaughn said to drink your piss for self improvement. That's the thing.
No.
Like,
Oh
with
shit, that's no limits,
with
bro. I know him as well.
yeah,
I know this guy, bro. I've
yeah,
talked to him in the Discord
uh,
from Gabe for a very long time.
yeah,
It's great to see him again.
yeah. That's my guy.
Damn.
Yeah, but that's the thing about self improvement. Everything, and just everything in life. There's always, in certain things, you gotta have a balance. Like, you can't just go too deep into self improvement. Like you said, about the whole toxic thing. That's another reason why I had to stop listening to spiritual soul, because with the whole conspiracies and everything, like, when you watch a lot of those videos, it feeds your ego. Like you feel like you're listening to information that the mass majority of people aren't tapped into. So whenever you
Yeah.
get that, you have that consistent stream of information, you're gonna feel like, the majority of people around you, everybody around you, they're bots. Like as So would say, they're bots,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. That's
don't feel
what I
that.
would say too. Like I
Yeah.
didn't watch a lot of spiritual soul. I was
Hmm.
more into like Jordan Green and Gabe,
Yeah.
and eventually I really stopped watching those things, and I started watching more like Jordan Peterson and stuff. Those type of people, right?
Hmm.
Um, so then it was
Hmm.
more like general self improvement instead of the conspiracy spirituality type of things. So it was really only the
Yeah.
video, um, like when I was fucked up and feeling lonely. Then eventually I searched for why I didn't have any friends, and that's when I found like Spiritual Soul, his video about that you are like a chosen one, right? And that's kind of the
Hmm.
thought that I
Yeah.
imprinted in my mind. It's like, okay, I'm fucked up, or are other people fucked up? So I kind of twisted that
Yeah.
in my head, and that's kind of the thought that saved me. But eventually, that became very toxic, you know.
That's
Um,
true. Yeah.
but I feel like right now I'm moving towards a very beautiful place, you know. As I said, I'm gonna stop with college next year,
Hmm.
um, and there's just a lot of stuff that's coming towards me that's very positive, you know. And as well,
Yeah.
like right now, I have a new job. I'm working at
Hmm.
a sales agency. So that means that I'm gonna like go door to door trying to sell subscriptions to people. So right now
That's cool.
we are working for Ukraine, um, for like an
Hmm.
organization called Coordate, and we need to ask people if they want to support us with a small monthly payment. And like for every person that I sign in, I get like a lot of money. You know, this is like the
Yeah.
golden job to be doing. It's very fun because I make a lot of
Yeah.
money with it, and it has so much
That's
opportunity to
beautiful.
grow. You know,
Yeah,
um,
that's beautiful. Let me
yeah, it
ask
is.
you this. You said,
Mhm.
oh, I'm sorry, real quick. You said you were gonna, travel. Is there like a specific place that you have in your mind? Like, oh, I have to go here no matter what. Like a dream place. Do you have that?
Um, well, the Hindu culture has been really pulling towards me. You know,
Hmm.
the the yoga center of Sadhguru. I would really like to go there to volunteer.
Hmm.
So I'm probably gonna do his inner engineering program, so I can be a volunteer yoga teacher there. Um, so that's gonna be very exciting. But a dream place, I haven't really necessarily thought about that. I thought about like making a stable online income and then living in Thailand.
Hmm.
Um, but there's also a lot of volunteer projects that you can do. Like, for example, I want to teach English to some Buddhist people in a Buddhist monastery.
Hmm.
You can like go there for 1 month, and then they'll pay your food and your stay there in exchange for your volunteer service, right? Or saving turtles in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a lot of stuff, you know. Um, but it's just
Yeah.
I just don't want to be stuck in this system anymore of having to go to school for the sake of having to go. Because right now I just don't feel
Mhm.
that aligns with me, you know. I really don't
Yeah.
feel like school gives me anything. It might be a problem that you face as well. Because how old are you right now?
I'm 20. I'm 20 years old. I'm in college right now. And that's actually a thought I've had in the past. Um, I never, how do I say this? It's not like I had a problem with school. To be honest, I felt like I could. I mean, of course, any kid doesn't like. If you ask a kid if they like school, they probably don't like school. They just like going to school to say hi to friends and talk to people and be, social, right? But I mean, I didn't really like school growing up, and I still don't like school. I can do
Mhm.
it, but I just don't really like school. I don't think anybody likes school. But I've actually thought about dropping out a couple times, but um, I've sat and thought to myself, and I'm like, I really got to, like reflect on what I do want to do, like what I want to do in the future. And I feel like school, like college is probably the how do I say this? I won't say best route, but it's just something I have to do right now. Like I've weighed my
Mhm.
options and I've weighed dropping out. and having that freedom and everything and being able to pursue YouTube and whatever full time. And I've realized that I can, like, I don't have to choose either or. I don't have to drop out of school to do YouTube, or I don't have to, you know, only do school and be a YouTube. I can do both. It just takes a lot of work and it takes time. And I'm capable of that, you know?
Hmm.
And it's gonna be a challenge, of course, but everything in life is a challenge. So um so yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, no offense to anybody that's like, if you in college, this to everybody. If you're in college or if you're not in college, that's good for you. Everybody has different motives of pursuing college or not pursuing college. That's the beauty of it. Everybody is their own individual. Just because this person goes to college doesn't mean you have to go to college. Or just because this person doesn't want to go to college doesn't mean you have to go. You feel me? Everybody's path in life is different. I don't like how people or the whole system forces people to go to college because not
Yeah, that's
everybody
the
is
problem I'm
built the same
facing
way.
right
Not
now.
everybody,
It's like I'm not
yeah,
18
not
yet, so I still
everybody's
have to
built
go.
for it.
I just don't have a choice
Yeah.
right now. And it really fucks me up, going there every day.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm going there for no reason and I'm only learning
Mm.
bullshit. So, when I turn 18, the same day I'm gonna quit. Same day.
Hmm.
I'm gonna quit right away. And I want my
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah.
Um,
Do that.
so and it's just like I have a lot of things I want to pursue, and that's mainly I'm really interested in somatic healing. Do you know
Mhm.
what that is? If I say those words, somatic healing.
No, you gotta. Can you
Okay.
inform me about that in the
Yeah,
chat?
somatic healing is basically some psychologists only work with changing behavior, right? Or you have a psychotherapist that works with trauma, which
Hmm.
is a little more deeper than somebody who just works with behavior. But a somatic practitioner also works with the body and the soul. So that means that um, if they talk with you about being angry, they will also talk about the physical sensations, and they will heal you physically as well. That's what I'm kind of interested in. So I want to do like a mix of psychology with a bit of Reiki and yoga and those kind of things. Because
Hmm.
like the main thing that I've been into for the last year or so is meditation, yoga, and mainly trauma integration. So really diving deep into my past and how that has influenced me until now. Because like overcoming my porn addiction has been one of the hardest things, and it still is for me. Because the reason I seek that addiction lies very deep, and that's what I've kind of been exploring right now. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, the behavioral patterns that I've acquired because of my family situation and because I got bullied at school and all those things. Um, and that's what I mainly hear on YouTube to talk about, is that like a lot of people focus on improving themselves and changing their behavior, but they don't necessarily look at what made them behave that way. You
That's
know,
true. That's
um,
true.
so when I started with spirituality, it was all about living in the present moment and creating this sort of positivity illusion for myself. And I didn't allow myself to also feel negative emotions that I didn't want to feel. Um, so at the start, when I was watching Von Tukat and all those other spiritual YouTubers, for me, spirituality and meditation was just another addiction. It wasn't necessarily something that really changed something for me. It is only now that I can be real with myself and see, um, and just be with an emotion that I don't want to feel at all, that I feel
Hmm.
fucked up because my parents are beefing again, and I can just actually be with that emotion and fully allow it to be there. That's such a hard thing because almost nobody can do that.
That's
Like,
true.
even if I consciously want to stay with it, I still have the urge to sort of fight it in a way and change the way I feel. Um, and yoga has been major life changing for me, especially for the last 2-3 months, because
Hmm.
that's a short period that I've been into it. Um, and psychedelics is also a thing that I've been into. I don't know if you know anything about that, or you have maybe have any experiences with that.
No, I don't have any experience with it. It's interesting though. I would like to learn a little more about it because I've heard different things from
Hmm.
different people. But yeah, definitely want to like need to research some more about that.
Yeah, that's something
But
that I've been into for the past months only. It's because I got sent a documentary. A friend of mine sent me a documentary which I watched, and that's when I became fascinated with it. So I was like watching videos about it almost every day for a few months because it was just so
mhm,
fascinating to me that you could explore altered states of consciousness by taking a few mushrooms,
yeah,
and also that they use it to treat PTSD and stuff. Right?
hmm
Have
yeah.
you heard about that?
I think I have. I think that's one of the things one of my friends told me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my Christmas actually. This Christmas I took mushrooms with a couple of friends. We did like a
Really?
ceremony thing. Yeah.
How was that?
Well, I combined it with yoga and breath work. And I did it already once before. It was actually my intention to do it with a friend for the first time, but he
Hmm.
canceled. And kind of energetically, I worked towards that moment of the trip, and I really put
Hmm.
like intention in the mushrooms. And I'm actually growing my own right now. It's here in the corner here.
Hmm.
I'm growing
That's
my own. Um, but um, it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I'm gonna try to explain the things that you experience on those things, but because it goes beyond words, it's unexplainable.
yeah,
Just like these Buddhists say about enlightenment, you just can't explain it to somebody because it's so unbelievable.
yeah.
Um, so my first experience was on 5 grams of mushrooms, and that was on my own in my room, and I made like a whole ceremony, sort of a ritual with it, right?
Hmm.
Um, and 5 grams is kind of they call that the heroic dose. So that's a dose that's kind of the high dose of mushrooms where people have like life changing ego death experience and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So I took that on my own for the first time, and it was scary as fuck. Um, and I wasn't there consciously because I was sleeping for most of the time.
Hmm.
Um, so I had my mattress on the floor, and I had all crystals around me and stuff. And eventually, after I ate the mushrooms, within half an hour or so, that's when the trip kind of began. And like when it begins, you see the walls moving towards you and things going like this, and it's kind of like you see sort of these purple, pink, green, yellow colors. Um, and it seems like you're in sort of a fiction world that's being drawn by somebody, like a painting. Um,
Yeah.
but then when I went to sleep, which means that I was not consciously experiencing the trip, it was more like a scary dream. And
Mm.
I felt like if I look back at it now, I actually made a trip report recently that I posted on YouTube, but I took it off um, because you know some people will kind of judge you for it, right?
Yeah.
The way you talk about it. Um, but I don't want to talk about it for too long. But
Yeah.
but to tell you what I experienced during the dream I had on those 5 grams of mushrooms, I experienced that I was dying, and I really experienced it. Um, and it was so fucking scary. Um, and it felt like in that state, I was trying to answer all life's questions. And what I saw was all these sort of rows and circles and forms of kind of the way people put things in boxes, right?
Yeah.
Because this entire reality is boxes and boxes and circles and rows stacked upon each other. Like that's how people construct reality, that they have a certain perception that they hold on to, which they
Hmm.
think, oh, this is true. What I believe, I'm going to say something crazy maybe now for some people. I believe what the mushroom spirit was trying to show me was that this entire construction that I had of reality was entirely self-created, because that's what I
Mm.
feel like the teaching was that I've been given. And it was like I was trying to solve all these problems. I was like, okay, what about this? What about this? It's not true. It's not true. Nothing was true. And then I was at this point where um, I was asked to let go of all of it. So basically, die. But
Mm.
that's just too hard, right?
Yeah,
You
like an ego
you
death.
can't just
Yeah,
die. Um,
yeah. Like a, is it like a? Is that what people call an ego death,
yeah, I
or is it
think
different?
if I would be able to let go in that moment,
Yeah.
um, I would experience like the emptiness of existence, the
Mm.
fact that nothing is true and everything is a projection of things that are happening inside of you. I think I would have been able to experience that. But in that moment it was too scary, you know? And it was
Yeah.
really, it was so fucking scary. Like if I would go to the front, I would feel like I was rolling over for like thousands and thousands of times. And if I would go to the side, it felt like I was falling from stairs. Like that's how scary it was. But the main teaching was that if I wanted to live a good life, I had to look at the real truth instead of my perception of reality. And it was mainly focused on being selfless to other people. Um, and that's what I've been diving into in the last trip that I had as well. And it seems like it's so deep. Like when you go into the trip, you go very high and everything disappears, and then you slowly return to reality again.
Yeah.
Um, and also, like the last time I looked in a mirror for 2 hours, and how crazy that is fucking unbelievable. You see lions looking back at you, your face changes, it goes like this, and like, there's so much teachings that I can like pick up from this. And
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow I'm gonna have a ceremony with cacao. Actually, um,
Mm.
that's what they use in Mexico as well. They combine that with a brew called ayahuasca. Have you ever heard about that?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of a psychedelic brew that they use in the Amazon jungle. But right now, I'm just gonna do cacao, and cacao is the same thing that's in chocolate, of course. But when you heat pure cacao and you combine that with singing and breath work and those kind of things, because that's what we are gonna do. We are gonna like be with a circle of 40 people or so. We're gonna sing. It feels like cacao kind of opens your heart in a way, and that's a very special thing to experience as well. Um, so yeah, that's my fascination about psychedelics, basically.
Man, that sounds intense. That was crazy. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this though. Earlier
Hmm.
we were talking about traumas and
Yeah.
how to go back and unravel different layers to find like the root cause of why you do certain things or why you're addicted to certain things. Can you explain? I know it's a lot, but can you maybe give somebody in the chat or whatever, maybe like the first steps to kind of digging deep into that trauma, and where would you start, whenever you're trying to get to the root cause of an addiction?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question because that's what I know the most about. Well, I would say it kind of builds on this sort of main principle that you realize that that was also with the psychedelics, as I said, you have
Mm,
a sort of a construction of reality, and this construction is because you live in a certain society, but also because of the way you've been raised. So if you're trying to change your behaviors, that's what a lot of people do. They go to in like cognitive behavioral therapy, and they focus all on removing the anger that they feel, but they don't look at why is that anger there. Because if we look at emotions, it's just like the immune system,
yeah.
because you know what the immune system does. When there's a bacteria in the environment, the immune system responds and they attack it. That's exactly what emotions do. If there's something that happens in the environment, your emotion is just a simple result of that. So we can focus on like trying to remove all those emotions that you don't want to feel, or we can look at emotions as a simple response to something that's happening.
Hmm.
Because if you wouldn't feel angry about a certain situation that has been happening in your past, that wouldn't be healthy. So if there's a certain emotion, you always got to look at where it comes from. And that's why people often turn to addictions, because to give you an example out of my own life, and out of some of my friends' lives.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up very lonely, and my parents were fighting all the time. And if there's one responsibility that parents have, it's teaching their children how to self-regulate. Do you know what that means?
Like, if I'm a guess, um, just be aware. Like, asking questions, asking why. Is
Yeah,
that correct
that's
at all?
that's
I'm
definitely
just
part
guessing.
of it. It is the biggest thing. Self-regulation basically means that a person has the ability to be with himself and deal with situations that come in. So if there's one thing that children can do,
Mm,
it is self-regulation. That's exactly what parents need to teach their children for them to become adults. So if you can't properly self-regulate, meaning that you don't have the tools to deal with emotions, stress, and pain that comes in, that's when you grab out things that are outside of yourself to cope with those things. So
mm,
if we look at my family, my parents loved me, I can assure you, but that doesn't mean that they didn't make mistakes. That's what people often get wrong. It's like we get into this trauma stuff, and you constantly hear, "Oh, you are blaming your parents for all the problems." I know my parents love me deeply, but they hurt me
yeah.
so fucking bad by the way they raised me that I really had to look critically at what happened. Because, as I said, the self regulation, right? How was I supposed to deal with emotions if we look at how my parents deal with emotions? Because this is kind of the polarity that's going on between my parents, right? My mother
Mm-hmm.
is very sweet and sort of a people pleaser. So she always thinks about others and anyone but herself, right? And then my father is a
Mm-hmm.
very sort of aggressive, narcissistic guy. And he's very direct, and he's not in touch with his feelings. So my mother is basically always suppressing what she feels. And both of them, like my father just puts on a mask of anger when he feels emotions that he doesn't want to feel, and my mother is just doing the dishes when something comes in, because they both don't have the tools to deal with it. So if I would cry for more than an hour, the only thing I would hear is stop crying, because they just couldn't stand somebody crying, because it triggered so many things in them, right?
Yeah.
So if you hear that you can't cry, that's just insane. And everybody hears it.
That's true.
Everybody hears that they shouldn't cry. And what a child learns then is, okay, so if I am angry, if I cry, then I can't get the love from my parents. That's what I learned. That's what I learned. I heard from my dad, oh, why are you so sensitive? Why are you crying so much? And then they start making fun of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually what children do is, maybe they can't get love because they are angry. They will just suppress their anger, because the number one priority that they have is that they get love from their parents, so they will do anything to get that.
That's true.
So I had to suppress my anger, I had to suppress my sensitivity, my sadness, in order to get the love that I so needed as a child, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at my addiction, it is just obvious why I was addicted to porn. It was, for me, it was a easy sort of replacement for the love that I wasn't getting from my parents or from the people around me at school. Because my parents also didn't teach me good social skills, because they couldn't even be with themselves as a couple.
Yeah.
As two parents together, they couldn't even properly communicate with each other. And it is not like they don't talk to each other, but it's more like the contact they have with each other is so cold and straight to the point, and they can't have deep conversations with each other. It's practical things. It's like, oh, you're gonna go to the grocery store, you're gonna cook, blah blah blah. Like, that's the shit they talk
Yeah.
about. Or the new car that they bought, whatever. Just like on the surface, as Spiritual Soul would say, like bot kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
They don't talk about like deep emotional issues that they're facing. So the problem in my family is that they don't beef with each other. They don't talk about the issues that they experience.
Mm.
Instead, what they do is they have all kind of issues with each other, but they don't talk about it. It's just like under the surface, pushed down, suppressing it, and then after a very long time, the bucket is full, and then everything will explode once again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens every single time. Like after a few months, that's when the bucket is full, and then they have a big fight, you know.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but then they never divorce, and that's this. It's been that way for a very long time. Um, but to give you a short explanation, because I didn't get straight to the point with addiction,
No, it's all
um,
good. It's all good. It's all good.
but to give you a short explanation of addiction, I see an addiction as an attempt to solve a problem. And the reason why people use an addiction to solve a problem they can't solve is because they don't have the tools to properly self-regulate, because that's what addiction has to deal with. There are emotions or situations that you can't deal with, and you don't have the tools to, like things like meditation and mindfulness, reflecting by journaling on your emotions. You can't do that. You don't have those tools. So what you do instead when you feel lonely, like I used to do, I used to feel lonely and fucked up because I got bullied at school. What I did, I went to pornography, jacked off for 5 minutes, and that feeling was temporarily gone. So it was my attempt to deal with that loneliness. And then, it became more and more and more and more. And that lasted for 6 fucking years, because it is easy to have an escape by smoking a simple cigarette or taking some drugs or going to pornography or playing video games, because that's what I did. I did all of those things. I didn't take drugs, but I played video games. I watched porn. I ate junk food, and that has nothing to do, like a lot of cognitive behavioral therapists. They don't even look at this. They look at the decision to change. That's only what they look at, not at, oh, okay, so what are you trying to solve here? That's the
Yeah.
question that people need to ask themselves. Because have you been addicted to yourself?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
talked about the nofap, right? So
Yeah, of
like,
course.
what are the
Yeah.
problems that you've experienced with pornography?
Oh man, yeah. So I first got into porn whenever I was young. I think I was 12, 11, 12, 13. I was really young, and it came through school. A friend had was talking about it, and what we used to do was during recess, a bunch of kids would go to the bathrooms, and they would show each other like the clips and stuff. So um I think that's how I discovered it. One of my friends had shown me a clip, and he had shown me where to go, find he showed me the website to go find it. So I went home after school one day, and I had just searched it up. I looked, and I just watched it. And ever since then, it's something that's been like just in the background, in the back of life. Now, luckily for me, I don't think it was like being in the space and you hear different stories of different people. I'm grateful that my addiction isn't or wasn't as strong as some other people's, and some people doing it like 3, 4, 5 times a day. I'm lucky it never got to that point for me.
So
But
what point did it get to?
man, okay, so there would be points to where, for like I'd go maybe a couple months, 3 months, 4 months without watching it, and I'm fine, right?
Hmm.
And then there would just be, I guess, a day, like just a down day, where I wouldn't even be thinking about it. But like you said, it'd probably trigger from just being alone or bored. Like I have nothing to do, or there's nobody around me. I'm not talking to anyone. I just find myself like bored or alone. And then I just go back to it. And then
Yeah.
from just that one instance, it triggers like a 1 to 2 week binge period. And then after that, then I can go, I don't know, another 2, 3 months without watching it. And it usually happens like that. That's the cycle that, I've been trying to focus on, been trying to break. And for me, I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but for me, one thing that helped me, like identify and like really kind of break that cycle is whenever I like talk to myself or I pray or just what I'm doing now, like record a video. I won't post
Mhm.
it. I'll record a video and I'll talk to myself. Just talk to myself. And then I'll watch it back. And I'll talk to myself and I'll talk about, like the problems I'm having or just listening to myself talk. So whenever I do feel lonely or bored, in that space where I'm vulnerable, I'll just put it on, I'll just watch it and it will like I won't feel that urge to do it anymore. Or like Philip said, I'll read a Bible or I'll just pray or something and then I'll be good. But usually the most vulnerable I was is whenever I was by myself, whenever I was alone. And I didn't have anybody to talk to for a little short period of time. That's when I would fall into
Yeah,
it.
the same for me. Yeah, and it's actually I forgot to say that it's like with every addiction, it's related to a trigger. And what I mean by a trigger
Hmm.
is when you indulge in pornography, it is always the same emotion that you don't want to feel that you're trying to cope with. And you can have multiple triggers, but it's just like when this thing comes, this response comes.
Yeah.
That's what it is every time. So I hear a lot of people, yeah, I'm just bored, and then they indulge in it. But that's
Hmm.
what happens quite often. People are bored, and then they indulge. But it's when I explain these things about addiction, or when other psychologists that are more trauma oriented explain these things, um,
Hmm.
people often reject this, and they say that they are not traumatized. Um, and that really sounds very wrong to me, because um, I hear this 99% of the time when I talk about trauma. I always hear that people say that they are not traumatized because their whole perception of trauma is wrong. It's
Yeah.
like people only see traumatic events as like a plane crash where your entire family died and you were on fire and
Yeah.
you have a scar on your face, like things like that. But that's very severe trauma. Um,
Hmm.
but trauma is just it's just as simple as it can literally be something that your mom didn't pick you up one day when you were crying, and you can still be experiencing problems from that today, 15 fucking years later. You can still be experiencing pain from that moment. So it's um, what I hear quite often in the spiritual community, especially, it's like they're on this positive vibration type shit, just like I said I was, right? And then you don't want
Hmm.
to consciously go back into the past to solve this shit, because that's really what it takes. If you want to live in the present moment, you gotta first go back into the past and face those demons. Because if you don't know the groundwork that has been laid for you, which means sort of the main behavioral patterns that you've acquired, because that's what it is for everybody. You might realize if you look at yourself. Wait, what can I call it? Can I call you Pira?
Yeah. Pierre.
Pierre. Okay.
So,
You might realize if you look at yourself, Pierre, you might realize that if you look at the reasons why you get angry, you might see that it's always because it is situations that are sort of the same situation every time, but they
hmm.
just present themselves in a different light. Can
Yeah.
you search for an example of what I mean?
Uh, that's a good question.
That you
Mm,
get triggered, because that's what it is quite often. That's okay. You search, right? I'll give you an example first of my dad.
yeah.
He is always mad when he doesn't feel like people are listening to him. So, for example, I was watching a little video, um, and I was upstairs. So I didn't open the door for what 20 seconds, and he was knocking. Then I eventually came, and he was mad as hell. He was like, "Don't you hear me?" And that
Hmm.
phrase, "Don't you hear me?" He was not mad about the present moment, but he was mad about the past. He was what I literally heard when he was saying that was a little boy underneath that was saying this to his parents from the past. And this is he always gets mad because of this when I'm listening to music and I don't hear him. and I don't respond in 3 seconds, it's always, oh, don't you hear me? And it's always this same sort of situation that comes back that he gets angry by. And I have these situations for myself as well, is that I get triggered.
Mm,
So an example for me would be that if I feel like somebody's being arrogant, that makes me very, very angry because it reminds me of my dad. So I really can't stand it. I really can't stand it. And I get emotional, and I kind of disassociate. I start like staring at some object and I just disappear in my mind because it triggers so much pain in me from the sort of misogyny and narcissism that I've been through with my dad. So those are two examples from my life. So what is something that have you thought about it? What would it
yeah,
be for you?
I have an example, and it's gonna kind of sound maybe a little silly, but it's kind of funny.
Okay.
So I listen to music. I like listening to music, and one thing that always bothers me, and to be honest, I don't even really like know why, but one thing that always bothers me is I'll share a song with my friends, right? Like I'll share a song with my friends, and because I want to share the music with them. I want them to listen to it,
Hmm.
right? And they will listen to the song or they'll ignore it, and let's say a week or two or three goes by, right? They will share that same song or they'll post that same song and they'll be like, "Oh, this is my song." Da, 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 da. And it always irks me because it's like I took the time out my day or whatever to share
Yeah.
this with you, right? I want to put you on this song. And not only are you ignoring or disregarding it, but you're turning around and, you know, you're saying how much you enjoy the song, whatever. It always bothers me. It always gets underneath it always gets underneath my skin. Now, I don't know if that's just me tripping or if maybe there's a deeper reasoning and maybe there's something that I'm not looking at from my childhood that caused
Hmm.
me to, be like that and that gets under my skin. But that's one example. I know another example is it's kind of related to what you said because my mom is the same way. My mom is somebody that she doesn't like to repeat herself. When she says something once, if you don't hear it or if you don't listen, then it's gonna be a problem, right?
Hmm.
So I guess with me, if I tell I'll usually if there's, a situation or whatever, I like to tell somebody something once. Like if I feel like I have to repeat myself over and over again, I feel like I'm being disrespected because it's like I already told you one time. So um yeah, that's something that gets underneath my skin as well, is having
Huh.
to repeat myself,
So
over.
would you say that you basically copied your mother in a way?
I guess so, yeah. I would say that because um if it weren't or if my mom wasn't around me to, enforce that, or if I didn't observe her, having that attitude, I don't think I would feel the same way. It's just because it's in the environment. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you do copy your environment, definitely.
exactly.
Or what happens quite often is, for a long time I had sort of the mission to be anything but my dad. I didn't want to
Mm,
be like him. So also the kind of the good parts of him, which are sometimes hard for me to see because I always pay attention to the negative things, because that's what I usually experience when I'm around him. Like for me, it's very hard to be around my family. So Christmas, like a lot of people say that Christmas is like so nice and stuff. For me,
yeah.
Christmas is a environment full of expectations and people that want something from you.
Mm,
When I think about Christmas, it's just a fucking nightmare for me. I fucking hate Christmas. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like any celebration where people have expectations from me, I just fucking hate it. Like I have to be with my family. It's not that we are gonna like do something because we all want it, but it's because we all feel like we need to do it because it's Christmas, right? But I just
hmm
fucking hate it. Um, but there's a lot of things that I have with this. Oh, and I see that girlfriend for guys is watching. Uh,
hmm
oh, she says that She says that she likes my unique perspective that I
Yeah,
provide. That's
shout out,
cool.
man.
I was actually about to do a collab with her, but her voice is fucked right now. She's sick. Have you heard about that?
Nah,
Bro, she
yeah, hope
sent me
she feels
crazy
better.
messages with her voice. It sounds like she's dying. That's so sad for her. Yeah.
Yeah. While we're in chat, we've been having this deep conversation. I haven't really been looking at chat, but let's answer a few questions. I saw
Oh,
some
let's see.
some cool questions. This one right here. Biggest lessons learned from 2022 and what are your goals for 2023? I'll start out with this one.
Okay.
I'm not gonna really get into my goals. I don't really like sharing. Um, I'm gonna just keep it vague. I'm gonna keep it vague. I'm gonna just say that really 2023. I guess this is the time to. I want to say it's gonna sound weird, but I guess take myself serious. Now I've always. I'm not saying that I've been taking myself as a joke for 2022, 2021, whatever. But like I feel like there's so many aspects, there's so many things in life, so many areas in life that I'm not like I'm content with. Like I'm not pushing it. I'm not pushing, you know, the the boundaries of what I can do. I know there's certain areas that if I really focus on, I really, dedicate the time and the mental power to, I could take it to the next level. For example, YouTube. YouTube, I've kind of been content where I am and kind of been slacking a little bit, kind of been coasting a little bit because um I don't even know. I guess I to be honest, I don't really know. And that's what I want to fix. Um I want to get back to that mentality that I had when I first started YouTube, and I just felt like taking over the whole platform. That was my goal. And now that I've kind of reached a point to where I have a consistent, stable community of people that are like-minded and they like me for me, I kind of feel comfortable. But that's not what YouTube is about. And honestly, it'd be selfish of me to feel like I'm happy with where I am, where I know I have so much knowledge and game that I could be telling to thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people. So that's just one is always just keeping my foot on the gas. Um, that's just really it. And the biggest lesson I learned from 2022, I don't even know if I can say there's a biggest one. There's been so many lessons I've learned, but I guess the biggest lesson I learned, I'll just answer the question, is you I think um a big quality of you, like a really, 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 how do I say it? Basically, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but basically, your character is really determined on how well, or not even well, but how you bounce back from adversity. I know that sounds super like basic or whatever, but through this year, I've learned so much to myself because of how I was able to handle stuff that didn't go my way. This year, I thought from the beginning of this year, I thought this whole year was going to be a piece of cake. I thought things were going to go my way. I thought I was going to be way farther along in YouTube, in life, and everything than I actually am. And life kicked my ass. A lot of shit happened this year that I did not see happening. And that's just how life is. That's going to probably happen next year and the year after that and the year after that. And that's just how life goes. But it's just about how you bounce back from those challenges and what you do after that, you know? Because if everything was easy, if life was easy, everybody would be fine. But it's only when life gets hard, when shit doesn't go your way, that's when you see who's really built for this game called life. That's when you really see who's about it. So it's just really that's the biggest lesson I learned. You have to be able to bounce back from anything that happens your way. If life throws a right hook, you gotta eat it, and then you gotta keep fighting. That's just how it is. But yeah,
Okay, so you want to go hard next year.
that's basically it. It's just I gotta keep my gas. I gotta keep my foot on the gas. I cannot allow myself to be complacent, and that's easier said than done. That's way easier said than done. But that's just what I have to do. That's what I have to do. And that's just me being vague and me not
Hmm.
really getting into like my actual goals, but that's what That's what I have to do.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go too deep into my goals yet, because I also
Yeah.
know this sort of principle that I've been keeping into my mind, that it is important not to share the details of your goals, because otherwise they won't be attracted to
Exactly.
you in a way. But
Exactly.
actually, when you were saying um, going hard next year, right? I'm
Hmm.
actually gonna take it slow next year, and it might sound very crazy, but I've been going a little bit too hard for the last 2 years, and I feel like the reason I've been so much into improving myself and doing all these habits and watching YouTube videos, listening to audiobooks, doing all these things is because I'm trying to chase something outside of myself to give me happiness. And so I feel like the lesson that I've learned this year, I learned a lot about trauma. It was actually the first time I took the step to look back into my past and realize that basically all the problems that I experience right now is because of what I've been through.
Hmm.
And I've kind of laid the groundwork for that this year, and I'm very proud of that. Um, but what I realized is that even though I've improved myself massively over the past 2 years, and I'm very proud of my accomplishments, um, the reason I've been improving myself is because there's always this feeling of not being good enough. And
Mm.
it's not because I want to improve myself that I improve myself, but it's because I never feel like I'm good enough. That's why I keep improving and keep reading books and all those things, because I'm trying to chase something that I know deeply inside that it's already in me, but I'm trying to still chase it by, you know, reading that little book of on Buddhism that will give me like the knowledge that will enlighten me or something like that. But it's
Hmm.
just not, it's not gonna work like that. So what I want to do is I want to feel into what are the main things that I really need to do, and I want to cut all the bullshit, all the little habits that I'm doing right now. I want to cut those out, and I'm already working on that. Mind you, I think it's fucking bullshit that people are setting goals for the new year, because you should have done those things a long time ago already. It's
That's
like
true.
people get happy because it's Christmas and they are drinking with their friends in New Year. Then they set all these goals, but then when it gets hard, what you said, they don't have the power to bounce
Yeah,
back.
don't do it. Yeah,
So
you
they
don't.
hold on with their new diet goals for a fucking week, and then they
Yeah,
are too, uh, they are not strong enough to keep on going. So
exactly.
the goals that I have are just things that I want to achieve soon, not necessarily the next year. But I know they will be coming for me. My year is really going to start at the end of March when I'll turn 18, because that's
Hmm.
when I'll quit college. And then there's just going to be a lot of things for me. So for specific goals, it's going to be that I want a stable income, and I'm going to move out. I'm going to find a own place to live when I turn 18 already. So that's quite early, but I'm gonna like rent a room in the house of a friend of mine.
Hmm.
Um, so those are just two things I really would like to do, and I'm gonna travel. So it's gonna be a very exciting year. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, that'll be it for me really. I want to take my foot off the gas, meaning that I do want to be disciplined still. I'm not gonna be a lazy dumbass next year,
Hmm.
but I've been too much on the gas for 2 years because I'm
Yeah.
chasing something that I actually have to pause right now, and I think this year will be more of a reflective year where I'll be much more in meditation, um, doing nothing basically.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important to say as well, because of course, like life isn't always just about like trying to get somewhere, trying to get to that next level or whatever, but also you know, I feel, and a lot of people don't actually do that, but like taking the time to really reflect and learn more about yourself, because to a certain extent, like life, not even to a certain extent, but life goes as you go. If you're always, if you're always trying to chase something, you always have this feeling of going somewhere chasing something, and you don't know what's driving that feeling. you're just gonna be a slave to the feeling. You won't actually know, what's causing that. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? A lot of people don't know why they and that's something Jordan Green talks about. Sean, my God, Jordan, whenever you buy something, whenever you buy a car, you buy a house, whatever, like why are you doing it? That's something I've been trying to really think about is whenever I feel like I have to do something, I ask myself, like, why do I feel like I have to do this? Like why do I want to watch this YouTube video? Like, what do I get out of it? Why am I doing this? Or why do I want to take this nap? Why do I want to go to the gym? Why do I want to eat this?
That's what I
It's
found out about myself. It's like
yeah,
I'm doing all this bullshit, but why am I doing it?
exactly.
It's because I don't feel like I'm worthy enough. I feel like
Mm,
I'm chasing something, but I'm never like getting there. I feel like
mm,
I'm never reaching my destination. And I don't necessarily have to reach my destination, but I do have to take it slow. Right now
mm-hmm.
it's like I listen to audiobook when I'm in a train, and then I go home and I watch a YouTube video about self-improvement when I'm eating, and then I go to the gym and boxing, blah 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 blah. Like so many things, but I never actually pause and be with myself. I'm always like distracting my
Yeah,
mind on something. So if I'm not listening to a
yeah.
podcast, then I'll be listening to music. Like it's never silent or anything.
That's
It's
how I
fun.
am. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I've been trying to, set aside some time. Usually whenever I wake up or before I go to sleep, it's just, just quiet, just to be by myself. But that's exactly the way I am. I'm always, if I'm not watching a video, I'm listening to music. If I'm not listening to music, I'm talking to somebody or I have somebody in my ear or whatever. And then whenever it's like I'm always trying to distract myself from being by myself. And a lot of people are
Yeah.
doing that either consciously or subconsciously because I feel like if a lot of people really took the time to reflect and ask themselves these questions of why, they wouldn't like what they get. A lot of people wouldn't like, the answers and the reasons why they do a lot of things because you've in your head you've already built this, kind of like excuses to why you do things the way you do. Some people will spend all day in bed watching YouTube self-improvement videos, and the reason they tell themselves that is like, oh, I'm learning. I'm doing this. I'm learning by watching these videos. But in reality, your perception isn't reality. Reality, you're probably distracting yourself from, you know, you feeling alone or whatever. And to an extent, that's all the addictions, like you said, it's, like
Yeah.
a reaction to, you know, something that you've experienced in your childhood or whatever. So yeah. Um, man, that's another goal I kind of had for 2023 was just kind of, like in a way, like limiting a bunch of the distractions I have around me, allowing myself to be, by myself more. Whenever I go on a walk, I usually always take my phone with me and listen to music. But I might not even do that anymore because it's like, what's the point of going on a walk and being outside if I'm listening to music and I'm doing that while I'm in the house, Like
Yeah.
it, it's just about removing the little,
I feel
distractions.
like sometimes it's like I'm doing too much stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like with the music and stuff. Like I can't
Mhm.
I can't just be in silence and feel at peace. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, which is actually quite a coincidence. Today was actually the first time that I could sit in meditation for half an hour and just feel at peace.
That's
And it
beautiful.
it was just fucking crazy. And I feel like I want to explore that more. Even though it feels fucked up. Like it feels very fucked up for me to sit in meditation. It makes me very stressed.
Mm.
Because I can't really relax into that silence. With yoga, it's different, because then I'm doing something,
You're
right?
doing,
But
yeah.
when I actually don't do anything, that's fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
um, wait, what was the name of girlfriend guide for guys again?
Amanda?
Amanda. That
Yeah.
was her name, right? Yeah. She
Yeah.
she she asked any tips for believing in yourself.
Me too. That's a
You go
good question.
first.
So I have a lot of videos on this. Like I have a couple videos on it. I kind of make it once every 6 months or something. Just to and it's a video that I make for myself, honestly. I don't even really make it for people, but it's just like a reminder for myself. And this is gonna sound like, egotistical or whatever, but um there's a reason you're here. Like I feel like the chances of you being alive right now, of everybody being here, is so minuscule, so small. There's no coincidence as to why you're here. You weren't here for no reason, you know. And just that fact alone, if everything else in my life goes to shit, I know that okay, I'm here for a reason. Like it's not a coincidence. Like the chances are like 1 in a trillion, whatever. So I'm here for a reason. So as long as I'm here and I'm alive, then my purpose, like I have a purpose, like I'm here for a reason. That's really the main thing I have for me. So, a person I really look up to is Muhammad Ali. That's like one of my favorite people ever. And a lot of people call him, cocky or arrogant or whatever, but one thing he always did was believe in himself. And how he did it was through, talking about it, like affirmations, almost like self affirmations, saying I'm the greatest, or I'm the champion, I'm the GOAT, things like that. So I make these videos and I tell people, I'm like, yo, like I'm gonna basically say all of these things about myself. And if you are listening to this, you should feel the same way, because at the end of the day, we're all here for a reason. I believe I'm here, and I'll say things like, "Oh yeah, I'm the best YouTuber on whatever, whatever," just to hype myself up or whatever. And I feel like y'all should feel the same way as well. Whatever you're doing, whatever you feel like your goal is in this life, tell yourself you're the best at it. Tell yourself these things. Speak it out. Speak it out into existence. Tell yourself these things, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people think it's selfish or it's egotistical or whatever, but we're so quick to give other people compliments or whatever. Why not put that love into yourself? Why not tell yourself, you look good today? Why not say, you know what, let me do this for myself? Just be your own best friend. However you act to your best friend, do that to yourself, you know? So that's how I believe in myself, always reminding myself that, I'm here for a reason, and whatever I plan to do, whatever I want to do, that I'm the best at that. That's how I do it. Now, it may not work for everybody, but that's how I do it for me.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. I do exactly the same as you said. But for me, as I said about the trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really also had to get in why I didn't believe in myself, because these things often come back. And it feels like in my life, in social situations, I'm always trying to I'm always trying to confirm the belief that I have about myself that I'm not good enough. So when I'm socially, like when I'm talking to somebody, unconsciously I'm always looking for kind of cues that somebody is trying to reject me or judging me in a way.
Mm.
And if something goes wrong, I always blame myself. And I really had to look at why that is the case. And I do practice the things that you've said. I do have a purpose that I really hold on to. And I'm like, damn, like I'm here for a reason. And I got to
Mhm.
wake up today because there's people that are counting on me.
That's
And
true.
that really helps me. And also doing the affirmations and visualizations of
Hmm.
achieving things that you want to achieve is very important to me. But I had to realize as well is the reason that I don't believe in myself. Um, for me, my dad has really damaged me in that manner by um, like it feels like the voice in my head that is telling me that I'm not good enough is my dad's voice.
Mm.
That's what it feels like to me, because he always told me um, that I was not good enough, or that I should just do it in a different way. Like it's um, it's important for a parent to focus on the things that are going wrong as well, right? So that you
That's
can
true.
do them better. But he
Hmm.
never gave me a compliment of like, "Oh yeah, that's so great." It would always be like, um, he would get like fucking angry if I would like have a glass of water and then I would drop it or something. He would only point out those things that were going wrong, right? And not the things that were going
Yeah.
right. And that's exactly the way I treat myself right now. It's like I'm on this self improvement shit. I'm fucking 17 years old and I do so many things that people of my age don't do. But yet I look at myself as if I'm an asshole. Like I'm always judging myself. Like, what the fuck are you doing today? Like you haven't even been going to the gym. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking at myself in like a way where I love myself and I say, oh, you haven't gone to the gym. Why not, man? You do that
Yeah.
because you want to take care of yourself. I instead say that I'm a fucking dumbass. That's the way I talk to myself. Um, and I really had to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is that critical voice? Um, and I feel like for people that aren't secure, because what was her question again? She said, any tips for believing yourself? If you don't
Yeah.
believe in yourself, you got to dig deep in why that is the case. And then if you combine that deep search of the origin of this belief together with like affirmations and all those kind of things, then you will end up in the right place. Why is he always blaming his father? Okay, look, that's what I said to you at the start, right?
Mm-hmm.
People think I'm blaming somebody for the
Yeah.
problem. Um, and of course, when I say these things, it sounds partly true that I'm blaming them. But I want everybody to know that's watching, rewatching, or watching it right now live. It is not my intention to necessarily blame my parents. I'm more looking at the origin of um, where my belief comes from and the pain that um, my parents have caused me to go through. So it's not about I'm not trying to shift the responsibility because I am still responsible for what I do. It's
That's
not
yeah.
like it's not like, oh yeah, today I wasn't motivated because my dad always told me I was worthless. Like, I'm not gonna say it in that way. It's more
Yeah.
I'm looking at the beliefs I have and the um what the fuck, I'm getting confused a little bit. But I'm always looking at the beliefs I have, and if I get angry at a person, or maybe if I don't like one of my classmates, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's such a fun thing to do. It's like you don't like a person, and then you pause for a minute, and then you start like searching in yourself. It's like, what parts of myself am I seeing in this person that I don't want to see?
That's
That's a very
very true.
interesting one.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing that for the past couple of months or so, and that's such like a fun thing to do. Even if you will find things that might be fucked up, but it's so interesting to do that because then you will see, like, if you don't like someone, it's not because they are fucked up, um, but it's because you are seeing things inside of them that you don't want to see in yourself. So
That's
that's
true.
a very interesting thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is very interesting. And I want to say this. I can relate with. I can relate. I feel like a lot of guys, a lot of young dudes, especially around our age, like feel like the more we get older, and the more we kind of like learn more about our parents and why they did the things they did. I feel especially with men, young men, like I feel like it's starting to get not starting, but it's common to not want to be like your father or resent your father, not like fully resent your father, but to a certain extent. I know me personally, um, I'm gonna keep it 1,000. Like I love my dad, I love my pops, of course, but there's a lot of things that I don't wanna, you know, I don't wanna not end up, like it sounds bad, but I don't wanna just be who he was. I don't wanna be him. I wanna be my dad. I
Hmm.
found that growing up, I used to play, whenever I was younger, I played football. I was really young. Um, the reason I got into football, the reason I like sports was because of him. Um, I can relate to you on the part where whenever you said that you don't feel like he praised you enough.
Hmm.
Whenever I was playing sports, whenever I was younger, my dad would. I'm sure he didn't do this, to like hate on me or bash, but he would never really tell me. He would never be like, "Yo, I'm proud of you," or this and that, or you did a good job. Whenever I had a bad game, it was always, you know, let's focus on what you did bad. Like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you do that? And I always used to hurt
Yeah.
my feelings, of course, because I was a little kid. But
Yeah. So would you have those football games where like you would score a goal and then you would look at like the sidelines if your dad was praising
mhm,
you, right? It was
yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'm performing well. Like maybe my dad will finally love me now.
Yeah. So it was always that, like, I always wanted to play well because I mean, yeah, I like football, but at the end of the day, like if kids, like your young kids, you don't really love the sport that much. It's you want to make your parents proud. You want to make your parents happy. You know, that's what it's about. So it was always, it was always that. And even, to a couple years ago, even in high school football, like that's what it was. Like, of course I love football, but it was, making my parent, it was always about making my dad proud, making my parents proud. And um it had come to a point, I had gotten used to um them not like me not hearing about, how proud my parents were. I think up to this point I've only heard it a couple times. I've only heard my parents say they were proud of me whenever I graduated high school. Um
Yeah, like the huge
Yeah,
events,
the big
right?
events. That's the only time I heard them say they were proud of me, and I got used to that. It's not like, I'm here now as a 20-year-old dude. Like I'm maybe consciously I'm like, oh, I don't really care, but maybe subconsciously deep down, maybe that's why I'm doing all of this for. Maybe that's why I'm going to college. Maybe that's why I'm doing these things is to get this approval from my parents, right? But
Yeah,
it
that
had
can be
got to
part
a
of the
point.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I feel like I got to a point to where it's like I'm not even, I don't even really, I'm not even thinking about that. Like the things I do, it's like I kind of expect them, like for me not to hear about my parents from it. That's just
Mhm.
the point that I've gotten to. And it's sad, it sucks that it has to be like that. So that's why, every opportunity I get, with my siblings or just other people, I always tell them, I'm proud of you. You're doing a good job. Or especially with my brother, because my brother's playing football right now. And I don't want him to, have that same feeling I had whenever I was playing. So, whenever he does something, I'm gonna tell him, I'm gonna always tell him, you did a good job in this. I'm proud of you, but we're gonna have to improve here. I'm not gonna lead off with the negative first. I'm always positive reinforce
Mhm.
first, and then we're gonna work on what we have to work on after that.
That's great. And have you ever heard that you should never use the word but?
I've never heard of that.
Is because if you would tell me that you have a beautiful YouTube channel, you make videos that are so good, and then you say but, that basically dismisses everything that you said before. It's
Yeah.
like, um, so I've learned this as well, right? Throughout the years, it's like if I want to say something that I don't like or that is wrong about somebody, I'll first like mention things that are going well, right?
Hmm.
And then I'll point out the problem that I have so we can solve it together.
Hmm.
Um, but I've watched a documentary a few weeks back when I was with a group of men and we were watching that. It's called The Work. And this was of like prisoners who are integrating their trauma. This was so fucking intense. Like they were like with a group of like 12 prisoners with like tattoos all over their face, like real gangsters, right?
Hmm.
And then you saw them fully breaking down, crying their eyes out and hugging each other and
That's
doing
crazy.
all those kind of things. And that's what they were doing there as well. It was like people were talking about their traumas, and then when the word "but" came, they always got interrupted, and they told them never say "but" because then you dismiss everything that is coming before you said that word, right?
Hmm. Yeah, man, that's really crazy. I think I've read about something similar to that in a book. I don't know if you heard of it. How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a really
Yeah,
popular book around the
I
self
have that one
improvement
as well
community.
here. It's here
Yeah,
on the shelf. Yeah.
yeah. I remember one of the first points was about never criticize people because people don't like as not as humans like naturally we don't want to hear criticism. Like nobody wants to be criticized. So if you are to criticize someone,
Yeah.
you basically do it
Principle
in a way.
one. Principle one. Don't criticize,
Exactly.
condemn, or complain. Right
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. Right there. Because people don't like to be criticized. Like nobody, it doesn't matter if you do it constructively or whatever. Like nobody actively seeks out criticism. We all want to be praised, we all want to whatever. So yeah, that's what that reminded me of, Bruce. And anybody
Yeah.
that's in here, that's a great book. I recommend you read it. I've read
Yeah,
it.
it's a classic, bro.
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
really good book.
And
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, actually, that's something I always ask when I'm doing like a podcast with somebody. What are like your top books that you would recommend? Because I'm always very interested in that because I want to learn, right?
Yeah. Well, let's see. The I would recommend these aren't even like, oh yeah, hold on. There's a good comment. I like your bookshelf. I meant to say that at the beginning of the stream. It's a
Yeah.
really beautiful bookshelf. It's really
Oh,
nice.
thanks. Right. It's actually very big.
Yeah.
It has 4 rows full of books, but it's dark, so you can't really see it.
Yeah. It's a really nice shelf though. I need to invest in one. But these books that I have, honestly, I'm just now starting to get back into reading books. I always say this on my streams, but I used to be really big into books whenever I was younger. Like,
Hmm.
really, I would read everything. My mom would have to take away my books because I was too into them. And I kind of got away from it for a while. And now I'm starting to kind of get back into reading. So I'm basically really starting off with the main, the how do I call it? The mainstream self-improvement books. But one thing that I would recommend is, I mean, you've already read it, but
Hmm.
really How to Win Friends and Influence People. I feel like whenever you talk to people, every single person, it's like there's what you're saying, and then there's like this subliminal, like unconscious communication that you're having with somebody. Some people call it like a vibe, some people call it energy frequency. And I feel like it's super, super duper important for people to master both verbal communication and the communication that's being shared between you guys, on an unspoken level. You feel me?
Yeah,
Like it's just
non-verbal cues and stuff.
exactly.
Body
And
language also.
yeah. And I feel like every person you could come across, there was another book I was reading. I forgot the name of it, but one thing you do have to keep in mind whenever you're talking to people, every person you meet is your master in some way or form. Like they're your superior in another way or form. You can learn a lot from anybody. Doesn't matter if it's a child, doesn't matter if it's an old person, doesn't matter who it is. You can learn so much from different people. They're your superior in one way or another. So if you have this mindset from anybody you talk to, you're going to learn so much just from having a simple conversation like we're doing. I've already learned so much from talking to you in this hour and 30 minutes we've been talking. There's things that I've never thought about that just from having this conversation with you, Celesto, that it's opened my mind to different things. I'm gonna think about it even after we get off stream. So, as long as you have that
Uh,
mindset of everybody you meet is your superior in one way, and you really focus on the cues, verbally and you know, like unspoken, I think you'll be set in any interaction and you'll learn so much more from people than what you realize.
yeah, thank you for saying that, man. Yeah,
Hmm.
I often focus on the negative things that people bring me as well.
Mm,
It's like I have all these people that are like my age in school, right? And they are not on the same shit as I am, and then it really makes me frustrated and it makes me feel hurt, and then I shut down and I'm not open for the things that I do get. So that it's definitely very important to think about that, you know.
yeah,
Also, as the Buddhist people say, it's like your enemy is your greatest teacher, right?
that's true. Yeah.
That's very important. So is there any other books that you have? You said How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I'm also reading the 48 Laws of Power. I know that's another very
Great.
mainstream book.
I'm gonna get into that for my sales job because I heard it's very good for that as well.
Yeah. Um, definitely recommend that one as well. I think I'm not that far into it, but I've just been reading it every day, and it's pretty good book. But man, let's see. I know we skipped. Let me try and go back into the chat because I know there's a lot of questions and things that
Yeah.
we missed. Also, I did want to speak on this one for a little bit when the guy asked why is he always blaming his father. Like you said, it's not even blaming. It's not anything about blaming, but as children, like as people, a lot of things that we do in our adult lives and whatever, it always comes back to childhood because in your childhood, that's where you form your personality. That's where you form a lot of the behaviors that you'll have for the rest of your life. It always comes in childhood. Your childhood is super, super, super duper important. So when you in your childhood, whenever you're young, when you're always observing something, because that's what kids do. They watch, right? They watch and they copy. So, if you're always seeing behavior, you're always seeing patterns in your childhood, of course you're gonna carry it to, whenever you get older. So um it's not even about blaming your fathers, whatever. It's literally, you know, what happens in your childhood. And it's unfortunate that, especially in America, how there's a bunch of, broken homes and divorces and things like that. And both parents are in the house. The effect that's having on kids is is crazy.
Yeah,
And um
especially fatherless boys. Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
that's
So
fucked up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
another
I
this is a good book right here, The
yeah,
Superior Man. Yeah, I
yeah,
need to get
I've
this.
I actually have a playlist. If you guys go to my channel, I have a playlist where I found like more than 200 free audiobooks on YouTube, and I put them in one playlist so you guys can check it out. The Way of the Superior Man by David Dida is actually in there. I've listened to it, and it's a very good book. I'm definitely gonna buy a copy of that as well and then reread it. Right now, I'm listening to Intimate Communion by David Dida. It's also a very good book that you can check out. Um, but for my book recommendations, I actually have a lot, and because I mainly talk about trauma, I'll give you guys some golden books that I've read. This is Breaking the Mother Son Dynamic by John Lee, and this
Hmm.
basically teaches you about the impact that your relationship to your mother has on the way you lived your life today. So often, as men, especially, we don't do certain things because we are trying to um, show that we love our mother in a certain way. We want to please her. And this kind of gives you like a list that you can check out of things like the way your relationship to your mother is. Let me give an example. Um, mm, let's see. Yeah, I can't just give one example right now. That's
Hmm.
unfortunate. But this basically it has all these questions and lists that you can go through, exercises for mothers and exercises for sons,
Hmm.
to recognize the patterns that you have acquired because of the relationship with your mother. For example, um, if you are 20 years old and your mother still says that you are her little boy, those kind of things are very toxic, right? And you have a
Hmm.
lot more things that are like that. But this is just, um, I call this doing the groundwork. This is the basis of understanding how the relationship that you have with your parents impacts you to this day. And I would say that to figure that shit out with your mother, read that book. It's very important, and it's also a good read for your mother if she's willing to do that. My mother wasn't willing to do that because it would hurt her too much
Yeah.
to read those things. So that's unfortunate. But like that book, if you read that and you get your mother to read that, you can do some deep fucking work with your parents because that will be fucking insane.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then I have some books about trauma. I've actually only read one of these. I've read this one. These are the Dutch versions of these books. These are from a psychologist called Ingeborg Bos, which is a Dutch psychologist, and she's the founder of the method of past reality integration, and that's basically a form of therapy um, that thinks that all the people in childhood, all children, don't get what they need, and it might sound a little crazy, but they assume that all children develop certain coping mechanisms, which they have a category of 5 main coping mechanisms that people use, and it's kind of a system that they give you um, to see like, okay, this is the coping mechanism that I'm using, and then every time you can kind of catch yourself to see that you are slipping back into these behavioral patterns that you've acquired.
Hmm.
This is actually a very good thing because instead of um, changing your behavior, um, she actually learns you how you can kind of go into the consciousness of your sort of inner child, let's say, and you can actually experience the pain and emotions of that part of you. So this is a very interesting thing, and it has taught me a lot about coping mechanisms, because that's also how I define an addiction, as a coping strategy. Um, and then another one, this is also from the same author, from Gabor Mate,
Mm.
um, and this is Scattered Minds, When the Body Says No, and In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. He actually released a new book recently. It's called The Myth of Normal, and that's the smaller title was like how to survive in like a traumatized world or something like that. But what he mainly talks about is he is like a somatic practitioner, and he used to be a physician. And what he noticed then is that all people who came to him um, with ADHD always had the same family situation. So his first book was called Scattered Minds. I read that one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about ADHD and the fact that ADHD has absolutely nothing to do with genetics, but it has everything to do with what you've been through in the past and the way your family is. Um, and he also just talks about the connection with the body.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think he's so interesting, because um, as I said, I've been physically ill for 6 years. I had an autoimmune disorder that could get me blind, and that book confirmed what I thought myself. The fact that I got sick because mentally I couldn't say no to all the circumstances that were happening outside of myself. So, uh, because I couldn't say no, my body said no. And that's what happens quite often with people that have cancer. They are so mentally fucked up that their body responds to it. So this is like the somatic practicing that I'm talking about, and Gabor Mate is like fucking golden to read about addiction as well. That's what this book, The Realm of Hungry Ghosts, is about. It's about
Mm-hmm.
like people that are heavily addicted to drugs or anything like that. He really says that, and it doesn't matter if somebody is addicted to drugs or anything like that. It is always about the underlying mechanism, which has to do that you're trying to cope with feelings that you don't want to feel. So those are the main books for me, that I would really recommend some people to read. Oh, and if people want to learn more about the psychedelics I talked about in the beginning, read this one from Michael Pollan, How to Change Your Mind. He also made a documentary about this on Netflix. He will teach you like the basics about the new science on how you can use psychedelic substances to cure trauma, and it's very interesting. Very good writer as well. The way he um, tells stories is very special. Yeah, so that was it.
Was
That
it
was my
just
books.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing some resources for, you know, different people. I appreciate that. Um, if y'all have any last minute questions, let's try and wrap this up in like 5 minutes because I know it's probably super late. Where you stay, and I don't want to like hold you up any longer.
Over
Um,
here, it's not that late. It's almost 10 p.m. So
uh,
I can go for like 15 minutes still, because I saw a very interesting question from Young G Knowledge, um, and I would like to answer that actually. Do you believe in the supernatural, demons and dimensions, etc.? Um, I definitely do believe in that, and I don't necessarily believe in it, but I kind of have seen it, you could say, um, because of those two psychedelic experiences that I've had. I know that those things exist, and demons. I haven't necessarily seen demons, but more beings or entities that you can speak to or interact with, um, or just the fact that there's something after death. I'm very interested in that as well, like the near death experiences. There's actually like there's actually a Dutch scientist who's working on this. His name is Pim van Lommel, if I'm right, and he's actually investigating these near death experiences and how they are all so similar.
mhm.
Um, and I definitely do believe in that there are different dimensions to life. Um, and I think that's a very interesting thing to explore, and that's really what I want to do over the next year. Um, I'm really gonna do a lot of stuff. I want to do like all kinds of ceremonies with ayahuasca, cacao, Reiki, do stuff with Kundalini yoga, and I'm just gonna explore that world.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure.
Okay.
Look at those psychedelics.
He has many studies about this stuff. Studies? You mean at school? No, right? Not at school, I assume.
No. Let me
Oh,
see.
there's actually something I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Go
What
ahead.
what what the fuck do you think about the artificial intelligence bullshit with the chat uh shit? Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Um.
The robot chat thing that he can like write a script for you.
Oh,
And
I
he can
think
do
I've
all
heard
that
about that.
crazy shit. Like I was so scared about this, so
Really?
I needed to ask you. Yeah, I needed to ask you.
Honestly, me personally, I think I've heard about it. And to be real, I haven't really paid it that much mind. Honestly, I think the techno. Oh, chat AI. Yeah, chat AI.
Yeah,
I've heard about it.
yeah.
And
Chat
um,
GPT it was called, right?
chat GPT.
Yeah,
Yeah. And man, I think it's crazy. I just think it's absolutely wild how advanced these things are getting. Like it
yeah.
is getting scary. It is getting really weird because who knows? And it's only what? It's 2023. What can these things do by 2033? 2043. Like what will
Yeah.
AI be capable of achieving by then, you know?
And they also
Um
have the baby incubators and stuff. Have you seen about that?
yeah, that's wild. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it's just I just think it's crazy how as technology keeps on, you know, getting better, I don't even want to think about the types of things humans will want to do, want to figure out. You've heard of the saying or the phrase like, humans trying to play God or whatever, right? Like I'd like,
Yeah.
you have, you know, scientists or whatever testing if men can give birth or what just crazy things, right? I don't even want to think about, in 10 years what these scientists or technology is going to be able to do. That's the scary part of it for me. I don't believe in like a AI uprising or like, robots like taking over the planet. I don't
I
believe in
don't
that.
want it as well. Like
Yeah.
even if it has potential to change like us in a positive way, I just think artificial intelligence, I don't want to use it in any way. It's just
Mm,
too scary for me. I think it's just going out of hand.
mm,
Like if we have this transformation at this rapid speed, but then we do it spiritually, that would be a lot better for us. But
mm.
nobody's focusing on that, right? Like, uh, like how many years ago was the phone here? Not even 30 or 40, right?
Yeah.
And now
Not
it's
even, not
normal for
even
all
that.
of us. All
Hmm.
us 8 billion people all have a phone. Like I don't want that to happen with artificial intelligence, that we all have a fucking chip in our fucking nose or something. Like
Yeah.
that would be fucking crazy, man. But it
Yeah.
will happen if they want this to happen. It is likely that things like that will happen. Like I really wish that we would not go this way, but I think over the next year we will already see like crazy shit happening with this.
Yeah. It's messed up. It's messed up. And a part of me is interested, but big part of me is like what's the need? There's no need for it. There really is no need for it. Like there's not like what problems are being solved by this? Like realistically, there's no
Yeah,
problems being
they
solved by
do
it.
have shit with like people who have their arm cut off, and then they have like this robot arm.
Now
Uh,
that is good.
do
That's
you
that's
think that's
great.
good? I
If you're
mean,
improving the quality of life of people with that, I feel like that's good. Now, where it isn't good is whenever you try to like things that are not natural, you try to make natural with AI. Whenever you do that, it's not good. Like I said earlier, this isn't controversial or this isn't like cancer, whatever. Men shouldn't be able to give birth. That's not natural. Doesn't matter who says what about
Yeah,
it. That's not natural. That's not life. That's not whatever. When you have scientists doing that, that's when it gets bad. Because then it's like there's no
that's a step
lines
too far,
anymore.
man. It's a
Yeah,
step too far.
there's no lines anymore.
Like,
You're just no. It's just yeah.
I also feel the same about transgender things. Actually, like I really think everybody should have the freedom to do whatever they want to do. But right now, it's being normalized as something that is like good, and you should be encouraged to explore for yourself. Um, and I also think, like for me, um, changing your gender, which I think is not possible. I think that's crazy, actually. Like, I think people should really do what they feel like they should do, but there are limits, right? And I
Hmm.
think it's ridiculous that, um, like, it's been happening so much that people under the age of 18 have been able to like do a surgery,
And that's
and a lot
crazy.
of them regret this shit, right?
Yeah, and that's crazy.
It's
Um,
insane, and you have to take like hormone pills for the rest of your life, right?
yeah, for the rest of your life.
That
Yeah.
can't be possibly good for you. I can't imagine that a transgender will actually be happy or
Look,
like be
yeah,
spiritually able to evolve or something.
I'll say this. Yeah. Um, like you said, I do believe everybody. Look, everybody should be able to do whatever they want, right? That's if it's your life, you do whatever. That's your life, right? However, look, look, my family's from Africa. I grew up in a Christian whatever house. It's not hard to figure out what people think about it or whatever. But I do think I don't think you should be like you said. I don't think you should be able to do, you know, like be able to be trans like under the age of 18. Like you're still developing. You don't even know
Yeah,
what you want. Shoot, whenever I was 16, whenever I was 15, I thought I was gonna be a NASCAR driver. Like that's what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Like the point is like people like you don't really I don't think you really know what you are, like what you really want to do. Even at this
yeah,
age, like you don't really know who you are as a person. So how can you make a decision that big, that monumental at such a young age? It makes no
yeah.
sense.
They shouldn't be allowed to,
It
but
doesn't
it
make sense.
has been happening a lot, and there are literally people who are having a discussion about this, that maybe it should be allowed. I think it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um,
He said, watch out, YouTube is listening. This isn't
yeah,
even like I don't even, this is just common sense. Like I don't even think this is like
yeah.
a controversial take. It's just that's just like literally just common sense.
Bro, but
Like,
we both know that literally, like, just the small words that we have just said about this, if we would be big content creators, we would literally have the risk to like have this live deleted and stuff, and you getting striked and all the bullshit.
yeah,
It really happens for this small stuff.
right.
And have you heard about what happened to Andrew Tate now that he got arrested for
Yeah.
human trafficking
Hmm.
or sex trafficking?
Yeah.
I also think that's I think he didn't do anything. Like
Mm,
the same with like you haven't watched Young Pharaoh, you said, right? But do you
yeah.
know about Rashad Jamal?
I don't think so. I
He
don't
was
think I
also a very big creator. Um, and it's like he was also like exposing the Matrix and those type of things. Kind of what Andrew Tate did as well, right? With his
hmm
business, like saying that if you want to escape the Matrix, you gotta like build a business for yourself.
mm,
It feels like all the people who like mention shit about the Matrix, like it of course sounds obvious because it is the Matrix, right? But
yeah.
they disappear for some reason. It's either they get canceled online or they get arrested because they did some shit or something.
Mm.
It really seems to be making sense to me that they're trying to sue him in a way. So I think he didn't do anything, but everything will point to that he did actually do anything.
And
Um,
he's out of jail right now, which is interesting. Like I found like I'm not gonna say he's guilty or he's not guilty. It definitely looks like they're trying to pin him with something, but he's out of jail. If you were really hit with something as serious as human trafficking, you don't get out of jail the next day. I don't think that's how it works.
Oh, so he's out of
Especially,
jail.
yeah,
How
he's
the
out of
fuck is he
jail.
out of jail?
Yeah, he's
What is
already out of
happening
jail.
then?
I don't think it's like I don't think that's something you just, especially because the way what I read about it, if they've been watching him for a while, right? Apparently, the police or whatever have been watching him and his brother for some time now. So if they're collecting evidence on you, supposedly, right? And then you get caught, they don't let you out this the next day. That it doesn't work like that. For example, because Amanda's talking about it. I think it's correct. But I do agree. Yeah, like okay, so I don't know. There's a rapper in the US. You know who Young Thug is?
Yeah.
Yeah, Young
Oh, I
Thug.
listened to him a lot when I was like 13 years old, man.
Yeah, so he's in trial right now for a RICO charge, which is basically the FBI, they will watch you undercover for years to build evidence on you because they can accuse
Damn,
you. Yeah,
for
they can accuse you
years.
of something, but if they don't have evidence on it, they can't right they can't put you in jail. So what they'll do is undercover, they'll watch you for years and build a case and build evidence on you. And then out of nowhere, they'll arrest you, right? Kind of like what they did with Andrew Tate.
Hmm.
So the difference with him is he didn't get out of jail the next day. He's still in jail. He's still in court, and he's probably not going to get out for a while. He's not going to get
So,
out for a long
what do you
time.
think is happening with Tate right now? Then
That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say. So it just doesn't make sense to me if apparently if the police have been watching Andrew Tate for a while now and they're gonna convict him on this human trafficking thing, it just doesn't make sense that they would have supposedly months and years of evidence and then let him out the next day. It just makes no sense.
it's
So that's
also
why
really something that
I'm not really
Andrew
buying
could
it.
do, right?
Yeah, I'm not like me personally. I don't really buy it, but
That he faked it. Basically, that
yeah,
could be the
I'm
case
not.
too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really buy it, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, man, it's just crazy what the media and what people can do to people, that are outspoken about certain things. This is the whole Kanye situation, which is crazy.
I've
But
heard a bit about it, but I don't know what is happening.
no,
I
yeah,
knew he said something about the white man being more in trouble than like other
he said a
people.
lot. He said a lot of things. He said stuff about him liking Hitler and all types of things that people took it. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah. Um, let's see. It's just such a bad look of all things to be associated with HT. Yeah,
What is
technically
HT? What does she mean with
human
HT?
human trafficking.
Oh, okay.
Technically wasn't police science anymore, but you guys Twitter back too. Leafy doesn't have his Twitter back. That's tough. But I agree, people media hang on for no reason. That's just hive mentality, bruh. People see, monkey do. A lot of people will just see something. A lot of people will hate on something just because, and they don't even know why. So
I
yeah,
actually have a subscription on the Real World from Andrew Tate.
really.
Yeah,
Hey
that's
man,
fuck sick, man.
yeah, shout
I'm
outs
working about business now. I'm learning about it.
for
It's
sure,
very
for sure.
nice.
But to
Ugh.
the case as a whole, they go up here. But yeah, man, if y'all have any other questions, I think we can. This is a good place to end it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
this was a great stream, great conversation. I really, like I said earlier, I learned a lot of things just in this 2 hour span of conversation. It was really, really great talk, and I definitely love to have you on the channel again sometime in the future, or even go on your channel. Um,
Oh, that will happen. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, for sure. And I appreciate everybody, stopping in, just hearing what we have to say. Y'all haven't subscribed to his channel, I'm gonna leave it in the description, put in the title. I'm gonna pin it in the comments as well. So if you know, um want to hear more of my guy, you can just go tap into his channel. So super good day. Have a good day. Appreciate you, Amanda,
Yes.
for real.
Yes. Thank you for joining in live, Amanda.
Thank you, Philip. Appreciate you. But without further, I mean, if you do you have anything else to say to the
Well, I
fans.
definitely want to thank you for having me on, and I liked it very
Sure.
much. And I want to tell the people who are watching or rewatching this, um, it is likely that I won't be uploading for a while still, because I'm trying to figure out what content is actually in alignment with what I want to do. Because like the content that I made until now, the main intention behind that content was sort of the grind mindset of like growing my YouTube channel and contributing to people's lives. But it was mainly about grinding and growing my YouTube channel. And I
Hmm.
don't really um, I haven't really found yet what actually aligns with me, what I want to make. So I'll be back with videos soon, but it will take a while, I guess. So that
For
was it, I
sure.
guess.
Yeah, for sure. Again, thank you for coming on, y'all. And I'm gonna catch everybody in the next one. Thank y'all for coming on again. Peace.
Okay. Oh.